Get to Action Network. Okay, can you see Action Network on my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna go log in. So one thing you'll see is that you can have more than one group that you're affiliated with in Action Network. So you have one dashboard, and I can go to one pair of states or whole Washington. I'm going to go ahead and click on whole Washington. And there we go. So this is your main menu. Actions are like any kind of form you have on your website. Let me go. So we'll go to endorsements. So endorse whole Washington. So when we send out an email to candidates, this is the link we give them. And this is an Action Network form. So once they fill it out, let's see, endorse whole Washington. We have a lot of forms right now. There it is, endorse whole Washington. So if I click on manage, sorry, my internet's slow right now. I live in very rural Eastern Washington, so sometimes we have slow internet. You can see who's answered. This is somebody who's running for Congress. She just endorsed yesterday. I'm very excited. Beth Dolio. And we ask them for a quote. I support whole Washington because, and then we can make them a nice graphic. So anybody who fills out a form, you'll be able to see all the forms back here, and then who's filled it out. Like if they pledged to collect signatures, you can see who pledged, how many signatures they pledged to collect. You can even get an automatic email sent to you anytime somebody fills out the form, so that you get notified and you can call them right away. Like somebody says, oh, I can collect 100 signatures. You can call them and say, hey, I saw you said you can collect 100 signatures. Thank you so much for signing up. Would you do this in the meantime? Because we're not collecting signatures right now. So it's a great volunteer management tool. Here's the email area. This is all the emails we've sent. So, and you can look at the stats, the open rate, how many clicks. If they took an action, like this one is the email we sent out asking for endorsements. With this email, 33 candidates clicked on it. 5 candidates took an action to endorse whole Washington based on that email. You can also hook it up to your ActBlue account, so you can see how many donations that you get through ActBlue and track that. Okay, so let's look at an email. Oh my goodness. Sounds like my dog needs to go to the bathroom. Sorry about that. Gotta make this quick. So this is the email we sent out, and we have like a banner with every email and then a footer on every email that will get sent automatically with each email. Let me see if I can show an example. So see, that's the banner that automatically is inserted into every email that we send out. And then at the bottom, it has this little footer with our Facebook and Twitter link, and says paid for by whole Washington, which is something that we have to have according to PDC laws here in Washington state. And then this target area, when you want to make sure you're sending to the right groups, you can include volunteers and exclude, like this email was about events. and asking people to donate. So we didn't want to send it to candidates. We didn't want to send it to the Washington State Legislature. Let me just go and show you what that looks like. Let's see if we have a draft in here. So once you have it written, then you go to save and target your email. So if I want this to only go to Washington State, I can click Washington State here. If I wanted it to just go to King County, so like let's say we have an event in Seattle, I can have it go to just King County, Washington, because that's where Seattle is. So it will hit everybody in King County. The people in that area are likely to go to an event in Seattle. You can target people in a certain zip code. You can target people who've made an action, like if I want to send an email to all the candidates who've endorsed. I can do that. Like I can send them an email. Thank you so much for your endorsement and congratulations on your election. We want to have a meeting with you about the whole Washington Health Trust. So, and then you can also exclude anybody. So if you want to exclude somebody who lives in the state of Alaska, anyone who lives in Alaska, you can exclude them over on this side. So it's pretty simple. And then once you click save, preview, and send, it'll tell you how many people it's going to send it to based on the targets that you gave it. Any questions about that? I'm sorry, that was a really quick overview, and I am more than happy to do like a deep dive into Action Network once you all have your Action Network dashboard set up. I can give a complete training, but if you have any questions based on what I've showed you already, I'm happy to answer.
I have questions about other stuff, but I can
Okay.
go after this section.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question about the cost. How much does Whole Washington invest in Action Network?
Yeah, so it's based on how many emails you send. Typically, we are about $15 to $30 a month for Action Network. But if we have a lot of events and we're sending out a lot of emails about events, we've gone up to about $100. But it's still, no matter how many emails we've sent for any given month, it's still much cheaper than what we were paying for Nation Builder.
Yeah, it looks pretty similar to Constant Contact in the way that you can use it. Is that your understanding too?
Well, Constant Contact is just an email tool. It's not like a database management tool.
Okay.
So that would be the difference. And also, I've noticed with Constant Contact, it goes to spam a lot more often. MailChimp is the worst.
Oh.
Do not use MailChimp because it goes right to people's spam folders. But Action Network is more reliably not sent to spam.
Okay.
Let's see, what else can I say is different?
I was wondering, what tech do you use for texting?
Through Text, THRU Text. It used to be called Relay, I believe, but they changed it to Through Text. But that's, like I said, that's a pretty expensive tool, 8 cents per text.
What is the name of that group again, on the texting?
Through Text,
Oh, Through Text.
Yeah.
Okay. I've just been using Google Groups. So One Pair Stage has almost 500, and I click on that, but of course I can't keep track of who opens and who clicks and so forth. So I should be able to do that easily through Action Network?
Yes, yes. And I will walk you through creating an email maybe just send me an email when you're available and I'll walk you through that. We can send an email together. One thing I
Okay.
will say about Action Network, there's sticklers about where you get your lists from. Don't just upload, if it's 500, that's no problem. You can upload 500, they're not gonna have an issue. But if you have like thousands of people you're uploading, like I worked for a congressional candidate and I did warn them about this, but they bought a list from Beto O'Rourke. They left it named Beto's List and they uploaded it into Action Network, and Action Network suspended their campaign like in an hour because you're not supposed to buy lists. They need to be opt-in only lists. So if you do use Action Network, keep that in mind. Don't upload lists of thousands of people and have it named like something pretty obvious.
Oh, well, in Google Groups, you can either say add directly or send invitation. So if we add directly, could we get in that kind of trouble?
Not with 500. It's not going to be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been very helpful, Georgia. I really appreciate digging a little deeper like this
Yeah, no problem.
for
No problem.
one pair of states.
All right. Anybody
Okay.
last minute questions, comments? All right, go make yourself miserable by watching those debates.
I think I'll just,
Oh, no, you can, Socrates, if you had another question, go ahead.
I have a couple questions, but they're not tech related. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So about 2021, is there, I thought, so at least maybe I missed something, but like for California, I thought we have to like have an election to put forward a ballot measure, right? So wouldn't California wouldn't it have to be 2022? Or,
You don't have elections every year?
I don't, wait, I
Well,
thought it was,
I mean, we do, but that doesn't, every state is different. We have, you know, elections all the time here, it feels like.
okay, I
So,
might be missing something. I don't know if Rob wants to jump in. Okay, but okay, so there's elections every year. And then this is something I was wondering. So in California in '94, they had a ballot measure. Um, it got on the ballot. Yeah, so Rob is saying I think it is every 2 years. Okay, that's maybe I was like 2021. I was just super confused about that. So in '94 they had a ballot measure for single payer in California, and it got on the ballot, but it lost with I think it only got 23% yes vote. And it was a lot of similar issues. They had like 6 months after getting all the signatures to actually do like a yes campaign. So I was wondering, one thing is because I know I talked to someone who worked on that campaign. Actually, it was Michael Lighty who worked on that campaign. He said, oh, the reason they did 6 months instead of waiting to put it on the ballot and then maybe giving themselves 2 years is that they thought Clinton was going to do healthcare reform, and then there would be momentum to carry their single payer thing through in '94, which Clinton healthcare reform didn't happen. So I was wondering, have you considered doing that thing where you put it in so that there's 2 years to do a yes campaign instead of just 1 year?
yeah, so probably in California, you'd be collecting signatures in 2021, and then it would be on the 2022 ballot. That's how it's going to work in Washington State. We do have an initiative process we could do the same year, but you only get 6 months to collect signatures and then like 4 months for get out the vote versus the initiative to the legislature, which you get like almost an entire year to collect signatures, and then it'll be on the next year's ballot. So Washington State, we're doing an initiative to the legislature, so we'll be collecting next year, but we won't be on the ballot until 2022.
Okay, so that's what you're planning to do is get signatures in next year and then get on ballot 2022. Okay, that makes sense. So you
just because we have more time to collect signatures, and we'll need it because we're grassroots and we don't have a ton of money. So
something else I was curious about, And sorry, do other people want to jump in first if they have other questions? I don't want to be the only
I
one.
think, I think
Okay.
Elaine has a question.
What's the difference between an initiative to the legislature and an initiative to get it on the ballot?
So an initiative to the legislature, you file in March and you have until January 1st of the next year to collect signatures. The legislature can either pass it as is, they can put it on the ballot, or they can put it on the ballot and put a competing initiative on the ballot as well. They can't just say we're not going to pass it though. They have to do one of those three things, and they very rarely put a competing initiative on the ballot. So an initiative to the people, you collect the signatures, you have until January to July, and then it's on the same year's ballot. But I think Washington State's the only one who has that system. So of the two different kinds of initiatives.
Ours was an amendment to the Constitution also.
So something else I was wondering, and I was wondering if this was something else I thought of while I was reading about the '94 campaign in California. In that partly it was messaging, right? Like it was like they focused too much on bashing the greed of insurance industries rather than talking about how single payer will improve everybody's life and save them money, right? But one challenge of that is they would say stuff like that, but it was hard to demonstrate that to people. So I was wondering, once there is a ballot proposition made where the language is written, have you thought of developing an online tool on your website where people could input their income and then it would remind them that here's all the benefits you would get and this is how much less money you would spend a year?
Yeah, we have that actually. We have a savings estimator. So Progressive Coders Network, they worked with us using our funding mechanisms. And I will share my screen because that's the number one issue or question you always get, right? Is how much is this going to cost me? So can you see the website? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to Savings Estimator, and you can also see how much it'll cost you as a small business or a big business, whatever kind of business. So it'll tell you how much it's going to cost per employee for your business. Or you can click on an individual and then your household size, and you put in all this information. And at the end, it'll say Georgia Davenport. Well, it won't say your name because you don't have to put your name. But it'll say, congratulations, you will save $2,400 a year, which is, I think, about how much my family will save a year with the whole Washington Health Trust. So this is one of my favorite tools to use when we're going around collecting signatures because, like I said, that's how much is that going to cost? There's no way that can save me money. Well, it's going to cost every single person a different amount because we made this progressive. Washington State has the most regressive tax system in the United States. That's one issue we wanted to solve, is balancing out our regressive tax system here in Washington. So rich people pay more. We have 13 billionaires in Washington State that pay no income tax in Washington State. So this is also a capital gains wealth tax, the whole Washington Health Trust. So it'll save most people thousands of dollars, and they can see that as you're collecting signatures, and they'll say, how much is it going to cost me? And they put their information into your mobile phone while you're collecting signatures, and they get to see how much it'll cost them, or save them rather. Okay.
So this is Jerry Friedman's financing. So he has the reputation of being a little optimistic. And I think it's reasonable to do it. When you're talking with legislators, they don't necessarily want to see what we could get or save. They want to see what we're guaranteed to get. So that's what happened in Oregon when we had the Rand Corporation, which is conservative, and we were disappointed that they didn't count certain savings. But the legislators are going to probably listen to that, and at least it said we would pay no more than we're paying now, and we would cover everybody. So,
So let me clarify. This is based on the funding mechanisms developed by Dr. Gerald Friedman, but this isn't his like, oh, it's going to save Washington State $9 billion a year. This is actual like, okay, so it's an 8.5% capital gains tax, small premium for anybody making over 200% of the federal poverty level. And then based on those funding mechanisms, I can put in how much I pay now and how much I would pay. It's not like, you know, the estimate of savings. It's
oh,
like the actual amount of money that's going to come out of my paycheck for the whole Washington Health Trust.
okay, okay.